Well, greetings to you. I would like to return, sadly, to this wretched business of coronavirus again, with some more information for you, or a little bit more observations perhaps for you. As my subscribers know, I have devoted over the last year to developing a page on my website to collate international independent information on coronavirus. And it's come from all over the world, lots of different countries, all with very eminent scientists, virologists, immunologists, their views and their papers, most of which are peer-reviewed. They've come from all over the world, and all I do is I assemble them and I post them so that you may make a decision, an informed decision. And that's what I'd like to talk to you about today, an informed decision. Now, I've made a number of videos. One was on the risk assessment, how to judge risk assessment, how to look at things so that you can make a judgment decision for you and your family. And I've covered a lot of that, and I don't want to go down over old ground. Now, those who've been watching my videos on this subject will know that I have been very light on criticism of pharmaceutical companies, and that is for a reason. Not because I'm employed or retained in any way by pharmaceutical companies, who sadly many people who comment on mainstream media these days seem to be, and it's very difficult to get information, independent information, and if you Google it up you'll find that a lot of people who are posting papers or referring on Google and so on and so forth and these search sites will be in some way financially connected to pharmaceutical companies, and of course I'm not, and neither of any of the people who have published work on the website that I've coordinated. Leaving that aside, one of the things that's coming forward, and I'm doing research all the time, is informed consent, the concept of informed consent. Now, if you have an operation, and you call it an operation for those people my age, it's now called a procedure if you're younger, in the same way that pain in my generation is now referred to as discomfort, but there we are. That's just the semantics of the modern world, which of course have a lot to do with what we're dealing with now. One man's experimental vaccine is not necessarily another's experimental vaccine, and it depends what your view is, and you will have your own view on that, and I don't intend to persuade you one way or the other. But if you look at my website, you'll find different opinions on that particular subject. But the research that I've done in the last few weeks, I feel has been rather disturbing. Now, as I say, I've been light on criticism of pharmaceutical companies, and because I think that's fair. And I've gone through all the leaflets, the vaccination leaflets that have been produced by Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, so on and so forth. And I've been through them all quite carefully. And I think they have been remarkably straightforward and honest. They're not trying to hide anything. Where they say they don't know or they don't have the statistics, they say so, and it's perfectly fair. And I've made that observation before. So we're not getting false information from pharmaceutical companies. Where is it falling short? Well, I'll tell you where it's falling short. It's at the point of delivery. People actually being either voluntarily going for their vaccination or being coerced into their vaccination, or feeling that they can't maintain their lifestyle unless they have a vaccination, so on and so forth. And I've been down that road before, and you know the score, and you can even get that in the daily papers or even mainstream media will tell you about that, although they don't tell you much about anything else. So these are the reasons that people have had the jab. Have you had your jab? Have you had your jab? These people who've had their jab, which is very, very significant numbers of people have had the jab. But here's what worries me, that I can tell you an awful lot of people have not been given the leaflet or read the leaflet until they have had the jab. And this wasn't the idea at all. The pharmaceutical companies put out a leaflet for you to read before you submit to any form of medication. If you went for any other procedure, you went for an operation, if you went for chemotherapy, if you had any other form of illness and you went for medication, it would be explained one-to-one in some detail with you by your physician. And you could then make an informed decision about whether you wanted to go forward or not. I have come across people in significant numbers who can't even remember that the jab they had. They don't know whether it was Moderna or AstraZeneca or Johnson & Johnson, which means they've taken almost no interest in the jab at all. They've just gone forward in an almost sheep-like manner to have it. And this can't be right, and it's not what the pharmaceutical companies intended. We are dealing with your body. Your body, it's your choice. So if you want to make a decision, it must be informed. And you must sit down and discuss before you have this procedure with your physician whether for you it's good and if you've made your risk assessment, so on and so forth. At the moment, most people aren't doing that. And I read with horror a headline only this morning that it's quite possible, as we're trundling down this route of coercion, one headline was "No jab, no job." Well, this really won't do in a free society. This really won't do at all. It must be your decision and your decision alone. Not your employers, not the government's, not anybody else's. It must be yours. Your decision to make. And if your employer is going to insist that you have this jab, or the government's going to insist that you have this jab, we need to look about indemnity. Every leaflet I read was perfectly clear and fair and honest to say that there can be side effects to this medication. They've been quite upfront about it. Some frequent, some rare, so on and so forth, but you must read the individual leaflet of that pharmaceutical company if you want the facts. That is the way you have to go. Now, if you're being coerced or blackmailed into having this procedure, I think we need to review the concept of indemnification. If your employer is saying you must have it and you have a serious bad reaction, it's for the employer then to say, we will indemnify you, we will give you sick pay, we will give you a lump sum payment in compensation, so on and so forth. Or it may be reclaimable from the government. What we can't do, or what we shouldn't be doing, is coercing and blackmailing people into medication, any medication, forget coronavirus for the moment, any medication, without some form of protection, financial protection, for the people who have been blackmailed or coerced. It isn't right and it isn't fair, and I say again, it isn't the pharmaceutical companies who are doing this. This is not a pharmaceutical problem, this is a political problem. The medication that is being recommended or coerced or you're blackmailed into, these politicians who are doing it, and it's in the main it's politicians and some people in the mainstream media, these are the people that are pressing you, and this isn't the right way to go about this particular problem. It has to stop, and we have to take a more pragmatic, a more honest and a more liberal view. As most of you know, my work is very heavily independently research based. And I get my information from all over the world. It would help if you press the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, because the more subscribers I have, the more likely it is that international independent research institutes will share their material with me. It's most helpful, and then of course I'll automatically share it with you. So, surprise, won't cost you anything. Thank you very much.